Hey folks, welcome back to the Corvette experience. Okay, so what's been going on? We've had an amazing beginning to the fall with the Corvette, and now we've run into an issue, and we're really going to get back into kind of what the core of the channel is about, and that's kind of the engineering from the home garage and the dad garage. And we've got a big issue to deal with here. We've got a lot to get to on this one. We're not going to have any driving. We're not going to be out there having fun today. We're just going to have a horrible conversation on what we need to do to get the car back on the road. Something we did that was good though. So recently we swapped out the exhaust and we got the N11 exhaust put on. We did that in the garage and I've got the footage for it. That'll be a follow-up video to this. But unfortunately, when we were taking it out to experience that new exhaust, we felt a vibration in the motor that we hadn't felt before, and it turns out when we brought it back to the garage to check things out that unfortunately the harmonic balancer broke. So I'm gonna need some help on this one. There's lots of information out there on harmonic balancers and how to take them out and put them back in and the installation, and there's these good tools for them that I can't use. And the reason why I can't use it might be a couple reasons. One, this is a small block Chevy from the early 60s, and it may not have had a bolt on the crank or been tapped and threaded for a bolt. It may have actually had one and it cracked off. I've got a photo and I can't really tell if it's a cracked off bolt inside of there, which is even more horrible. So I can take the pulley off, or I can take the harmonic balancer off, but putting it back on is going to be harder. And there's a few ways to do it: heating it up, tapping it. You have to worry about bearings and pressure and all these things that go on if you don't have the assembly tool that can thread into the crank. And so we're going to figure out how to do this. Another problem was I needed to find a harmonic balancer for the car, and they're not that easy, right? So I didn't find one that's remanufactured. I didn't find a reproduction one. I didn't find a just off the shelf non-OEM one. Took a while to search, and I found an actual 63 small block Chevy harmonic balancer. Got one, it'll be here today. We're gonna install this one and we'll give you all the specifics on it, but it is an original 1963 small block Chevy, hopefully, but maybe from the period at least, harmonic balancer. It'll be an exact replacement to the one I have, and that's what I need. In the meantime, my biggest problem is how do I put it back on? But we're going to get it back on, and we're going to figure out if in fact the crank has a bolt that's broken off in it, or if it just never had one to begin with. So I'm going to need some help on this. All right, so let's check out the balancer to begin with. Harmonic balancer is this part here, and there's a smaller plate with a larger plate on top of it. It's 6 inches in diameter, I think, and it's put together. Now there is a seam and a weld right here, and that has come apart, which makes this wobble. When I saw it originally, I thought the harmonic balancer was coming off and that the whole thing was wobbly, which could be the case because this is keyed onto the top of the crankshaft. So it turns out that this part cracked, and now this is wobbling as it goes. This got to come off, a new one has to go on, and this one has to be either fixed or pitched. I'd like to fix it. I think it's the original. It came with the car because it does match all the OEM specs for one, for this 1963 327, and the horsepower rating for it. So we got to take it off. Taking it off won't be a big deal. There are tools for that, and you can home gym rig some stuff as well. So I'll use a tool off the shelf for that, but the problem is going to be putting it back on, because I won't be able to use an assembly tool that goes into the center of the crank, because I don't think the crank that I have is actually a tapped crank for a bolt. Some history: 1963 and around that time, 327s and small block Chevys, a lot of them, maybe most of them back then, from what I read, did not have a drilled crank for a bolt. Rather, everything was pressure fit, which is fine if you're going to a mechanic, but for the dad's garage, how the heck am I going to get that pulley, that balancer off without the tool. And so got to figure this one out. Help me out. I need your help. I know somebody out there has done this and you can make it easy. There's a lot of videos out there on small block Chevy and trying to get this done in various ways. You can heat it up, homegrown tools, stuff like that. A lot of threads and forums, but we'll figure this out together because I'm just going to figure out if we can engineer something from our garage to get it done, and you're going to follow us through it. But we're going to get it done sooner than later because we need to get back on the road and experience that new exhaust. That's what it's all about. We have other projects that we're going to get to as well. That's going to be, since we put the new exhaust in, the N11, we want to put all the components back on it as it would have left the factory. And so we have exhaust shields that go up towards the motor and transmission. We have tips. We're going to put the exhaust tips back on, but the exhaust tips have the exhaust tip, the bezel, there are clamps. Special clamps that go on it. So this will clamp around both of those at the back of the exhaust. We're going to install that. Also, we have some repairs to do to the frame underneath here. This is a body mounting door, body mount bolt door that goes back here. We have to replace it. Got a bunch of screws and hardware for a license plate. And we have a bunch of just hardware that has to go with the projects here. Okay, so then we also have in the center of the exhaust, and I'm showing pictures here from the assembly manual, in the center of the exhaust there is a hanger that goes on. So I'm going to put on the hanger. And there's also a hanger bracket that goes on top of it. I'm going to install that. And then we're going to get to some metal work. This is replacement metal for the frame. So as most Corvette issues, most C2 Corvettes and just this frame throughout any C2 or 3 generation issue has, we're going to update the metal here. I'm going to update the frame. And we got a kit that's body on kit. So we got a kit that's a body on. So we have a body on kit that will work for replacing the small area of metal that's rusted. It's not rusted bad. I've had a few professionals already look at the pictures and say there's no integrity to the frame, just got to get that metal out. And so we're going to do that for the front hubs, because there are these cool hubs. We got to put these on. As you can tell, we've got a lot to get to. Help me out here. If you've got an idea or experience on how to do this with the situation I have, add the comments, please, to this video, and we'll put those ideas into practice in the next videos. when we try to get this done. Thanks to everybody for subscribing and liking. The channel's kicking off. Let's keep doing this. Let's have some fun, and let's get this car back on the road, and hopefully get your car back on the road too. If we didn't know, we're definitely going to find out. Gotta love that. Turn on the radio.